welcome to another edition of Teach Time Maths for Year 1 and Reception. So today we're going to be looking at fractions. Specifically, we're going to be looking at halves, quarters and wholes. So, this first thing, we have a pizza here on the piece of paper, and we need to learn how to cut it into halves. When you cut into halves, you cut into two pieces, or you sort it into two groups. So here on my pizza, I need to cut it into two pieces. Now, I can't just cut it into one tiny piece and one big piece, because when we work with fractions, we always make sure that our two pieces or our two groups are equal, which means that they have the same amount. Because if you only got a tiny piece of pizza and your friend got a huge piece of pizza, you wouldn't be very happy. So we always need to make sure that we cut it exactly in half, so perfectly into two pieces if we're working with a pizza or a cake or a chocolate bar or something healthy like an apple. And if we're working with counters, we have to make sure that the groups have the same amount in. So let's try and cut this pizza into half. So remember, I said that it has to have two pieces, two equal pieces. So I'm going to make a dot in my centre. I've got a piece of pepperoni here to help me. And then I'm going to draw a straight line right down the middle. So now my pizza is cut into half. And let's say that this side is Tom's pizza and that this side is Jack's pizza. So a pizza cut in half has how many pieces? Well, we've just cut it in half, so how many pieces do we have here? Fantastic, we have two pieces. So a pizza cut in half has two pieces. Perfect. Let's have a look at my counters down here though. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 counters. Now, I want to half these. It's going to be a bit trickier to half counters because I can't cut them in half because it's not a pizza, it's not a solid object. So what I need to do is I need to sort them into two groups. Now my counters here are different colours, so I could use that to help me sort them into groups. So I'm going to draw a line down here in the middle and say that this side are blue counters and this side are white counters. Now I need to check that I've got the same amount in each group, otherwise I'm going to have to think again. I've got 1, 2 in this group and 1, 2 in this group. So that means when I split 4 counters in half, I get 2 in each group. Now let's have a look at something a bit different. We're going to have a look at something called quarters. Now quarters is another funny name for one of the fractions. When we split into quarters, instead of splitting into 2, like with halves, we split into 4. So let's have a look at this first one here. Jack's chocolate bar is cut into quarters. There are how many pieces in each quarter? So I need to cut this chocolate bar into 4 pieces, but make sure that the same amount of pieces are in each one. Now, the good thing about quarters is I can start by just splitting it in half. And then what I do is I cut each of these pieces in half again. With quarters, the way to remember it is you split in half and then you split in half again. Always works. It's always an easy way to figure out how many pieces you need for your quarter. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 rows of chocolate, and in each one I've got 1, 2, 3. I'll check all the way along. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. So there are 3 pieces of chocolate in each quarter. Now let's have a look down here. Now I've got lots and lots of sweeties at the bottom, and I've got 4 people that each would like some. But I need to make sure that everybody gets the same amount of sweeties. Otherwise it would be unfair. Somebody would be upset. So I could try and cut these into 4 pieces for each sweetie, or I could start counting 1 for each person until I'd run out. So let's do that. So I'm going to cross this out. That's going to be 1 over here. And then I'm going to cross out until I get to 1 each. Okay? So I've crossed out 4 of these sweets. They're over here now. So this person's got 1, so have they, and so have they, and this one has 1 as well. And I'm just left with 4 sweets. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to cross 1 out and draw a line over here. Cross out and keep going along until I've finished. So I don't have any sweets left over here, and have each person got the same amount of sweets? Fantastic. So let's count how many sweets there were. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's 8 sweeties for 4 people, and each person gets 1, 2 sweets. Fantastic. So let's have a look at something else. Now we can keep our pieces cut into halves or quarters, or we can join them back together again to make something called the whole. I know it starts with a W, but when we say it, we say whole. So I've split this pizza into 2 pieces. Now I wonder if you can remember the special name for splitting something into 2 pieces. If you said half, fantastic. So I've cut this pizza in half, but I've joined them back together again. I've kept them as 1 pizza. I haven't taken one of these halves and put it over here, or taken one of these halves and eaten it. I've kept it together, which means that I've kept it as a whole. Now let's have another look at Jack's chocolate bar. All the pieces are cut up, but he hasn't eaten any yet, which means even though we've cut it into quarters, Jack's chocolate bar is still whole, which means all the pieces are still there. Now here I've got some counters. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 counters. Now I could sort these into groups. I could half them, but I've kept them all together, which means I have my whole group of counters. So if you're working with halves or quarters, if you keep them together and you join them back together, you've got the whole. Okay, I hope you've enjoyed this fraction lesson. There will be some worksheets up on the Facebook page for you to have a go at, but my challenge for you today is to see if you can find a piece of fruit or some counters and see if you can half them with your parents, okay? Have a great day, everyone.